the next time. Would like to address Commission Policy 51. This is the Wayne E. Kirch Award for conservations. The award is presented annually to bestow a richly deserved honor on the individual, nonprofit organization, outdoor sports group, or business, and has shown outstanding achievement and significant results in the conservation, management, or enhancement. I have 2 questions on this. The recipient will be selected by a panel made up of 2 crossed out 3 wildlife commissioners, 1 department staff, and Marlene Kirch. The policy states this is for nonprofit organization, outdoor representatives. On the 3 proposed wildlife commissioners to sit on this panel of judging, would it be the 3 that have been appointed to the subcommittee, Chairman Lent, that would now consist of the appointments you have, or is it someone you would choose after this? No. Okay. And I just wanted to state for the record, our word sometimes is not always about hunting. We have fisheries, we have conservationists. I love to see diversity, just like this board, where we have representation from sportsmen, conservationist group, ranching, and farming. The judges on this panel, just per se, I think Mr. Howell is a sportsman's representative. I think Commissioner Raines, aren't you a sportsman's representative?
Legally, yes.
And Mr. Kobrin, I'm not sure if you're one of the sportsman's representative, general public. So we do have a little bit diversity, but taking out, you know, the composition of the board has questions in my mind. The other question would be on the 1 department staff. Would that be this department staff to the committee, or is that someone that will be picked annually differently?
Whatever the department wants to.
The department would be responsible for sending someone? Okay, and my last question in closing. I noticed someplace on there also that the deadline for this award is annually March 15th. And this year it has been extended to January 15th, if I'm correct?
That's right.
Can someone tell me what the purpose was, why we extended this? Was there a problem, or what the goal is in achieving?
I made an executive decision to extend it to that time because there were some problems of getting notification out. And in the past, we've had a commission that didn't even award it because they forgot about it.
So we missed a year when one of the awards was made?
In the prior one. And I extended the deadline this year because of some problems with staff getting the notice out.
I looked on that and I couldn't see, well, in the last 10 years, whatever, but I just wondered the reasonings before that.
There was 1 year when it wasn't given out because the commission didn't have the time to do it, or I think it was forgotten is what it was. And I don't know if you remember that or not.
No, and I appreciate that, because I did look back before I addressed that question to see possibly the reasonings why it was extended. If it came out in leadership team minutes, you know, if someone had addressed that, did they not get any at the deadline? But this year, why we extended that, and
just
maybe
like
not.
The duck stamp. Last year in the duck stamp, we had nobody legally filed a request to be the sponsoring agent. The deadline had passed, so the year before, and the commission voted after the deadline to accept the Stewart Waterfall Association after the published deadline. It's a policy, and we can extend it or we can make.
Okay.
And we had a little problem with getting the notice out, so I extended it till January 15th this year, but hopefully we'll
be on track next year. Yeah. Well, in closing, I want to say my own personal comments are I would like to see more diversity on the board. I'd like to see, for the judging panel, county advisory board, a conservation group, but I'd like to see more diversity. And I would like to see this go back to the county advisory boards for the input, just because of the reasons I stated. The support material did not have the draft language of what it was, but the secondary meeting did.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in public one? We're on policy 51.
Hello, I'm Tom Smith with the Coalition for Nevada Wildlife, and I personally have some major concern with the new judging guidelines. I think it takes away the sportsman's input, certainly takes away the county game board's input. I believe that by eliminating the county game boards, or at least not allowing it to be judges definitely eliminates the input that we're going to have from sportsmen out around the state. I feel that it really stacks the awards towards those that only the commission are looking towards, and maybe not the general sportsman in the state of Nevada. And most of the people in the state of Nevada are aware who really deserves these awards. They work with them out in the field. For example, like Mel Belding on the Guzzler projects. They know how busy he was out there and how much work he actually put in. And because of that, he got a lot of support from around the state. And again, I think that eliminating the sportsman input and making the county game boards irrelevant in this process is detrimental to all of us. And I would like to see this kept the way it was. It worked for many years. I don't see any reason why it should not work for many more years. I understand that there will be one representative from the Department of Wildlife, but unfortunately, with politics the way they are, sometimes a representative from the Department of Wildlife would maybe prefer to not stir the waves by making a vote against somebody that all the other commissioners are for. And I really just feel that this is stacking these awards and the duck stamp and everything else to where the commission only gets to make decisions in the state of Nevada, and I just think that's not the way this was set up and hasn't been for many years, and I don't think it should be now. And I don't know if you are trying to make the game boards irrelevant or eliminate the game boards, because I notice we seem to getting more and more away from their input all the time. So that would be my question. I would hope you're not trying to make the game boards irrelevant.
You know, this doesn't take away any, you as an individual or your group and the county boards, it doesn't take away their ability to make recommendations to bring to us or bring to the committee. I mean, the committee's would like to hear from everyone, from any sportsman's group out there for nomination. So you're going to be able to nominate, the county boards are going to be able to nominate anybody they want. It's not going to detract from the nomination. That's what you do now.
Well, it will certainly detract from who's given the award.
It's a commission award.
I agree, but they're with input and judging from the county commission or from the county game board. So it definitely will change the makeup of who those awards are being given to.
I don't think you can say that, but you know, I don't know how they would judge it. I think there's rules on who it should be awarded to for somebody, an individual that does this. And I think the commission is just as qualified as the county boards to make those decisions.
Well, like I said, my major objection is to making the county game boards and the sportsman voice irrelevant. And I think that's a very important part of what the commission does, is to listen to the game boards and to the sportsmen and take their input. And I think by eliminating the judges from the game boards, I think that really changes that makeup. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wants to comment on this before I bring it back to the commission? It was an information item, so go ahead with the next item, Commissioner Kobrin.
Mr. Chairman. Commission policy number 22. And on that, on the transplant, the wording would read as proposed: the act of releasing endemic wildlife species into the habitat not currently occupied by the species. So that would be the first change. Moving on to page 2, there are no changes proposed. Moving on to page number 3, after item number 4, which would be put in, which would be item number 5, once approved by the commission, any changes in the big game release plan must be presented and approved by the Wildlife Commission. Number 6 should be added. The big game release plan must include source population of animals to be released. Number 7 be added. To give transplanted or translocated animals a better chance of establishment, predator control must be accomplished by Wildlife Services or another appropriate entity before and after any transplants or translocations can occur. After that, number 5 would become number 8. On your old one, 6 would become 9, 7, 10, 8 would become 11. Number 12, to protect property rights, all businesses, groups, or individuals that have a direct pecuniary interest that may be infringed upon, or resources that may be utilized by the transplanted or translocated animals must be contacted by NDOW and given opportunity to give testimony in a public hearing before any action, transplant, translocation, or augmentation may take place. Following proposed changes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Commissioner Rain?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had brought forth this item 12, and I knew it was rough language at the time. And on the advice of council, in order to comply completely with federal and state laws, been advised that I should ask that we strike line 12, and only line 12, and refer it back to the committee for further wording refinement. And that was the advice that was given by council. So I would just like to see that happen at this time. And the rest of it is good.
Any other comments from any commissioner? Commissioner McBeth?
I have a problem with the way number 7 is worded. From the standpoint of, it assumes that there is a predator problem in all areas where we're going to do translocations or transplants. And it would make more sense to me if the provisions stated that all transplant locations will be evaluated by Wildlife Services, and if a problem is determined to exist, then predator control could then be placed, because we could potentially be spending money where there's no problem, the way this is way this reads. And so I just think it would make a lot more sense to me that if and I almost would assume that the NDOW biologists and everybody's involved in these transplants have probably done that, but that we be somehow notified, and that as part of the plan that has been evaluated. Something has been evaluated with respect to predators before we just go spending money on control when we haven't even established that it's necessary.
Mr. Chairman, to do that, you'd probably have to run some predator hunters in there to see. And
yeah, I would
have to spend the money anyway.
I think that I would assume that a predator control project is more expensive than sending somebody from Wildlife Services out there to do an evaluation, on an on the ground evaluation. The presumption that we always have a problem, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Is I do like the idea of making a determination before we do a transplant or a translocation, that we determine that there's that it's a good location, including whether the predator's going to have an impact on that transplant or translocation. So that's my only that's my comment with respect to this one. And then if 12 is going to be withdrawn, I guess I'll.
Mr. Chairman, could I make a comment?
Sure.
I guess for the record, our bighorn sheep trap and transplant program is bar none the most successful in North America. The most successful in North America without a policy like this. We currently evaluate each release site prior to release for predators. We have a long history of doing that sort of thing. This would absolutely be impossible for us to do, number one. We don't have the funding for it or the manpower. We're not going to abrogate our responsibility as a state agency to Wildlife Services. If we have, we can, I don't think that needs to be there, obviously, any appropriate entity. So I think we need to step back and take a look at what what a wildly successful program this has been. We have a process in place of evaluating the effects of predation, and we've addressed that, or we wouldn't have been as successful as we are, quite frankly. So I think that the subcommittee and the commission needs to kind of reflect on that a little bit. But anyway, that's from the department's perspective.
Any other commissioner comments? I'll open up to the public then.
We had 5 cards, I think,
Mr. Chairman, yeah.
on this item.
Oh,
Well, I can hold my comments until after the public.
Okay. let's open it.
Thank you again. For the record, Ken Wellington, Elko County. I guess concerning all this stuff, I guess I'm a little taken back because of a couple comments by Commissioner Capurro that it's almost like the decision's already been made, and I thought this was a workshop, and I'm feeling like we're pressing this through in a hurried manner to do this. This is supposed to be a workshop so we can go over some of these things, and from all the policies and so forth and the recommendations that have come, I'm not getting the feedback, I guess, from the board that I expected with the commission. But dealing with this policy, Clark County, as I speak for them on this behalf, they oppose this. Our board opposed this. I have multiple problems, and I'm going to take the heat real quick for, there was an agenda item on my last agenda that I put on there that we were looking at, and I'd gone out to the other commissioners about this commission taking a stance against all the county boards and then having to do a recommendation is what I was looking for, some input, a recommendation to have a written response back of why the commission did that. And it was brought up at my board that here we fought all through the legislature to try to keep this commission from micromanaging the department, and here our county board was actually trying to micromanage this commission. And that was a very good point, and I pulled that off, and we tabled that item. We're back to the micromanaging with line 5, where everything has to be approved through the Wildlife Commission. I'm concerned with that because you're taking the tools right out of the department's hand that like Mr. Mayor said, this is the most successful in the United States transplant program. And I feel that we're taking that back out of there. And at the same instance, I'm all for being proactive on the predator management of the areas. But they're talking with Mr. Mayor and their staff, they already have that set in place. They do evaluations of the areas before these animals are put in there. Do we need to have something? I agree with Mr. Macbeth. Yeah, I have no problem with contracting out to have somebody go in there, take a look, give us a second opinion. What do you think? We're all for that. I don't understand how on line 6 we could pick the source population. Now, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I always thought the source population was chosen just right prior to the transplant, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but the department could probably answer that. And with that, I wanted to make sure that this commission knew that we're more for workshop. I have no problem throwing this out there, putting them out. I know other people have comments they'd like to do, but we'd like to be heard on it. At least, consider and use this as a workshop time before we make the decision. If we can't come up with something, or if there's a question, let's push this off to the February meeting where we can get more input if we need to, or come up with some other suggestions. I, for one, could not make the meeting. I attend almost every one of the committee meetings, and you can ask anybody in here because I'm always there, but I've been battling with a cancer issue that I had a treatment that day, and I could not make that meeting where I'd like to be in, and my board all works, and they could not make the meeting, so we didn't have a representative from our board to find out exactly what was going on. And I apologize for that. I know the telephone conference, I'm a big pusher of that. I think that's the greatest thing we started doing. I'd like to see better phone lines, and so we get better communication, but I just don't want to see this commission rush into some decisions on these where I think that we could seek some more input and maybe come up with some resolutions together as a group. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We had 5 cards, listed 2 here for this item.
You found one?
No.
Okay, Rex Flowers. First comment, Washoe County Advisory Board.
You didn't specify.
We did not take any action on this. We try to hold our meetings 5 working days in advance of the commission meeting in order to get our minutes out to the commission so they can get the full content of what was done in our meetings, and there'd be no misunderstandings. Perhaps we need to move our meetings up closer to your commission meetings in order to be able to get all the information that's needed. At our meeting, we tabled this. We took no action because there wasn't anything available. Our meeting was ahead of the subcommittee's meeting. Now Rex Flowers is public. I'm having a little problem in that this is item number 8 today, and it will be item number 15 tomorrow. And by your policy 1, it says in there, in section 6, that proposed policies, amendments, requests to appeal policies shall be mailed to the Commission, County Advisory Boards, Managed Wildlife, and interest groups. Commission will have a minimum of 2 readings of the proposed policy in public meetings, that's plural, before the Commission takes action to adopt, amend, repeal, or disapprove the policy, unless the policy is declared an emergency, in which case the Commission may read, amend, and adopt the policy in 1 reading. And if you look in section 2 of policy 1, it talks of meetings, and it gives in conformance the Commission may hold not more than 9 meetings each year. I think what's important is if you skip down to, it actually shows meetings, and it shows month, June, set revise, month, August, set revise. It actually specifies meetings as being a month situation. So what you're doing today is you're having a first reading on Friday and a second reading on Saturday. You are having 2 readings within 1 meeting, not 2 meetings, and it's not allowing for public input or for this to get back to the advisory boards. And I would hope that you would table this so that each of the advisory boards and the public can have a second opportunity to really review what you're trying to get across. Thank you.
Thank you. What else you got?
Let's see, we have any further comment? The people that had this specifically listed were Judy Karen. Did you have left? Bob Bruner had listed 22 specifically listed. And
for the record, my name is Bob Bruner. Speaking for myself here today, I would like to ask that, or like to share my view that I don't support any of these 3 items for change. Wasn't requested by the public, doesn't seem to be supported by the public or the cabs in a majority, and I would like to just let you know that I don't support these items as a sportsman and as a member of the public. Again, as I spoke earlier this morning about, how is this helping mule deer? How is this helping any animal? I mean, we're handcuffing the department on what they're supposed to be doing and how they're going to do it, and that's going to take predator money away from, what they've decided to do. So this is supposed to be broad-based policy, and we let the experts take care of how this goes. So I don't really think we need a change here so that we can, this doesn't move anything forward. It doesn't really help anything. Things were going well the way they were. So I know, Dr. Lent, you were up here for 30 years, standing on this side of the podium saying, how's this help mule deer? And what are we doing with excessive administrative costs and everything? And I know you can't do that now, but I'm trying to do that for you, because this only adds paperwork. This only handcuffs the experts. This doesn't help anybody. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I think we had Larry Johnson.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Larry Johnson, Nevada Bighorns Unlimited, Reno. I want to express our discontent with the proposed changes to Policy 22. Glad to see item number 12 has been at least temporarily deleted. Item number 12 would have effectively shut down the most efficient and successful big game transplant program in North America ever in its history. It would have just shut it down. There's been discussions on attendance of subcommittee meetings and discussions of hearings on Friday and action items on Saturday. Just my input on item number 12 is you're affording a guy with a 1-acre parcel on the toe of the Ruby Mountains more legal rights by that statement than you're providing the sportsmen of the state of Nevada in the rest of this policy. Okay. Item number 5. Any changes in the big game release plan must be presented and approved by the Wildlife Commission. Those changes are tweaked for biological reasons, for reasons of weather, reasons of access, of snow on the ground, so forth. They're done last minute. Ooh, those sheep are going to go here. We can't get those critters in there. We're going to put them over here, et cetera, et cetera. There's 8 million reasons that, quite frankly, the commission has no business meddling in operational issues. The same thing with item number 6, must include source populations. We're blessed in the state of Nevada now with more bighorn sheep than any other state in the union other than Alaska, largely to the efforts of a great partnership of private, state, and federal land management agencies. We have our own internal nursery herds. Quite frankly, whether we get animals from this mountain range or this mountain range to put in this mountain range is a biological decision that's done 30 days or 60 days before the transplant. Again, it's an operational issue, not a policy issue. The commission has no business essentially almost meddling in those type things. Finally, item number 7. I'd say over 95% of our reintroductions, whether it be antelope, elk, or bighorn sheep, all 3 species of bighorn sheep have been successful without a predator control. These dollars aren't in the budget. It puts undue restrictions again on the department, both budget-wise, manpower-wise, and so forth. And by the way, the present policy is Department of Wildlife biologists prior to a reintroduction analyze predator potential and make specific recommendations whether predator control is necessary or not. It has worked magnificently. There's a handful of transplants, quite frankly, where predators are a significant issue. Most of those have contracts by Wildlife Services on them working now. Okay? Classic example, 22 animals, 22 desert sheep were put at the foot of Mount Jefferson.
We got to run out of time.
800 animals now. Okay? Probably the most successful transplant in North America done without 1 iota of predator control. Okay? I really think that you need to ask the department for input on this. I understand they have alternate suggestions and wording, but more important, table this. This should not be acted on tomorrow. Put this back out for sportsman input through the county game boards like it's supposed to. Thank you much for your time.
Anybody?
There was,
Don Alt, Nevada Livestock Association. This is the item that our board of directors, why they asked me to come. And it's due to transplanting animals. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Hage decision. That multi-million-dollar decision that they got basically started with putting elk on Table Mountain on their range allotment. I don't like saying this, but what our board of directors said is that if animals are planted on their range allotments or their patented land without due compensation, the taking without compensation, they will hold the board of directors liable. And if the board of directors says no, they can't do it, and it's done anyway, then they will hold the department head, whoever acted out of their authority to do it. And there will be lawsuits, and I don't like that, but that's my charge to come say that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, Board, for the record, my name is Dennis Wilson. My affiliation is Nevada Bighorns Unlimited. I'm just going to make this quick. I am in opposition to the changes to policy number 22 for the reasons previously outlined by the previous speakers. I am particularly concerned about the items listed, 5 regarding changes to the release plan, 6 regarding source population, and 7, the word must for predator control. And thank you, Commissioner Rain, for deleting 12. I appreciate that. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Tom Smith with the Coalition for Nevada Wildlife. I'd like to address 6. The big game release plan must include source population of animals to be released. Part of the reason I would think that in the future we might want to consider eliminating that is if we have destruction of habitat where native species, for example, sage grouse, mule deer, antelope, have been eliminated from that range and we need to reintroduce them, I think this would interfere with that. I think that would be very detrimental to bringing back our range to the conditions the sportsmen and the commission would want it to be in. Number 7, to give transplanted animals a better chance, has to have predator control. I agree that in a lot of instances we've not had to have predator control on transplants, and on a case-by-case basis I think it may be necessary, but to make it an overall policy I think would be detrimental again to our budget. We're suffering a severe budget crunch right now, and this might eliminate many transplants that ought to be taking place. The third thing I want to say is some of the language here is a little ambiguous, only from the standpoint that it does mention animals several places, and I wanted to be absolutely certain, and I would like your reassurance this does not impact hunt and cutthroat trout reintroduction or the possibility of salmon reintroduction into the native waters that they were in northern Nevada at one time. And can you address that for me? Would this impact fisheries at all?
How would it impact us?
I'm sorry?
How would it impact?
Well, that's what I'm asking. I didn't think it would in here, but it does mention stalking of animals and obviously fish or animals, although it did mention terrestrials. But I just wanted to make sure that clarification was there, that it doesn't impact fisheries.
That would be brought up to the commission at the time they did a transplant. The impact of fisheries if there was one.
So you're saying this could impact fisheries?
No, this is a big game release plan, doesn't address fisheries.
Okay, well, I just wanted to check on that.
As well.
Policy to establish policy on the introduction, transplanting, and release or reestablishment of wildlife into the state and exportation of the same out of the state as guided by NRS.
And that's why I brought that
That plan
up.
is different than, I don't know.
But this is, my mistake, I thought this was the policy to establish the big game release plan. That was my understanding, but that's broader than I thought it was, so I apologize.
So this could impact bringing salmon back to the state of Nevada. So again, I'd like to see this tabled for further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's, this is only information, and any commissioner have anything they want to bring up before? I think we'll adjourn for lunch and take an hour for lunch.
I apologize. I just have a few quick comments from the department's perspective. Specifically with regard to number 7, Division 7. I have concerns that it may be too specific. I know the commission has authority to establish broad policies, and my concern with 7 is it's too specific and it's restrictive, and it requires the department to perform an act that may not be necessary, that may not be in the best interest of wildlife. So I ask that the commission consider modifying the language so that it's a little more discretionary to allow the department to be able to fully and successfully do its job.
Anybody else have any? I think what we'll do is, since only information before we go on, let's adjourn for lunch. How long do you want to take?
Specify time to get back. It's 1:41. We want to
2:30? I want to bring it back at 2:30. Let's adjourn till 2:30.